My career started there as a planning and profitability analyst, and we rolled up to the commercial organization. And from there, I think when I got there, I was a single mom and I had a small child. And I remember getting to that role, and one of the senior analysts told me, hey, take this region. This region's easier. Um, you will, you can travel. You have a small child, you're a single mom, you can travel quicker to this region as opposed to the West region, which is the region that I initially was assigned. And the West region was like the worst performing region financially, operational. They were just terrible, but that's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. I wanted that region because what is the point of taking the easy road, right? Like I wanted that challenge. So I took that region and we went from like a negative 1 million when I got there, to like, I think, a negative 3% in profitability to like a positive 10% in profitability, after like 3 or 4 years. So that was like one of those challenges and wins that I kind of like put my flag down as like one of the things that like solidified my career, that like established me to say, okay, this is okay. I can build momentum upon this win. And it really, I think one thing that I had a brand. Like my brand was, she's available. Like you can call her, you can message her, she's going to respond in a timely manner. And not only that, if I didn't have the answer, I would get someone who did. I would go to someone who did have the answer. I wouldn't just, well, that's not my job. I don't, or I wouldn't leave them hanging. I would always try, if I didn't know the answer, I was always try to connect them with someone who did. And what that enabled me to do was I did a lot of my own homework. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of digging into things to understand not just the what, but the why. Like why. I was very curious. And that's one of the things that I encourage in people who join, the teams that I lead, is that like, I don't want to just feed you the answers. I don't want this lazy approach to problem solving. Like you need to take the initiative. You need to take the ownership of solving the problem. And then if you run into a roadblock, okay, yes, please, by any means, come to me. But I think there's like this generation, I'm going to sound like the old fart, right? Like there's just this generation that they just want the information handed to them. They just want you to give them the answer. No, go and search for the answer and then tell me what you find and let's talk about it. So that's one thing I kind of built a brand around, was like always looking into it, because then I was able to retain the information a lot better than someone giving me the information and then I forget like 2 months later, okay, what was that again? But when you have skin in the game and you're actually putting the work together to kind of figure out, okay, how did this happen? Why did this happen? I was very curious. I was always asking questions, and I would go and seek those answers. So that kind of helped me build a brand. And I was for a few years, I got to a certain level where I was like an analyst, and then I became a senior analyst, and I was stuck in finance. And I took an opportunity to make a lateral move to another division within the same company. And that was such a great move, because within 3 years, I went from basically a lateral move to an analyst in another division to project manager within a year. And then another year, I became a director. So it was like 3 years, I went from an analyst to being a director, being a senior analyst to being a director in 3 years. And so I definitely encourage like lateral moves, because sometimes you're just sometimes it's just there's you're wherever you are, just at that time, it just happened to be that there was no movement. The people that were there at the time, the circumstances, it just wouldn't allow for me to move up. But when I did that lateral move, not only was it such a blessing and such a benefit, because I was able to gain experience in a whole another aspect of the company. So getting all that experience in finance and then moving into the operations support opened my career and my experience up in a whole nother way. So, and then from there, I told you that the company sold sold 49%. Delta sold 49%. I'm sorry, my bad. Delta retained 49% and sold 51% to another entity. And from there, I'm still in the director role, but I moved into another role, right? And it was a role that I suggested because at the time I was a director and I had like 10 analysts, and I was overseeing performance analytics. I was overseeing project management. I was overseeing resource planning, right? And it was a lot. It was just a lot. So I put together a presentation, and I proposed raising, instead of having all these analysts, like all those areas that I mentioned that I was overseeing, raising up leaders to oversee those areas. And I would move to another role. And the reason why there was an opening in another role was because when the transformation took place where Delta sold us, a lot of the executive leaders, they were like, yeah, I'm good, I'm out. I mean, there was executive flight. Okay. So those same leaders that were my mentors, that were my supporters, because they say that it's not about, it's it's when you're not in the room, when they're talking about you, when you're not in the room, that's where those decisions are made. That's where your career is basically mapped out. I had built enough equity and a strong brand that I had these leaders who were speaking highly of me, so that when these openings came up, it was like, I know who should be in that role. Well, they were gone. Now all of a sudden they're gone, and I have all these new people beginning in basically the beginning of 2019, and I have all these new people who don't know my work, don't know the value I bring. They had an idea, but I had to start all over again, in a sense. But it was my idea that, hey, I need to go and fill this vacuum that was left as a result of these executives that were formerly with the old company. And I filled a spot. And then they raised up the leaders. They actually did what I recommended, which was a good move on, in looking at the best thing for the company. And that's what I was thinking about, like the best thing for the company. In hindsight, I probably should have looked at what was best for me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know that's the first question, but that's kind of a gratuitous way to go about. Hopefully I answered your question
Oh no,
adequately.
yeah, you went above and beyond on that question, and there was a lot of powerful insight there. And just some themes that you were talking about, the being a self-starter, doing the research, doing a lot of the work from your end to really get you to a place where you're an expert and you're doing well in that. So I think there's a lot of things as far as being a self-starter that can go a big way for you. Doing the research and then, building that reputation for yourself and doing great work. And you also talked about doing a lateral move, which I feel is very powerful, because I think some people feel like they're stuck in the particular role and they don't really see any sort of progression. And, I think moving laterally and going to a different space and then really growing there and becoming bigger from that point on, I think that's a really powerful insight that you expressed there too. So I think that was great. So, you talked a little bit about, reasons for your success. What continues to inspire you? What continues to really push you to succeed and give you the impetus to keep going there?
I am a very competitive person. Um, and sometimes it's gotten negative. Like I've been known to flip a Scrabble table over. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it, but it's like I want to win in everything. I want to win, and it's not so much I want to beat other people. Like I want to beat the goal. Like if there's a goal, I want to smash it into bits, and I just there's a pursuit of excellence. There's just this pursuit of excellence in me that that I strive for. I'm never satisfied. Things could go really well, and I'm like, okay, but there's something else there. Like it's never perfect. And it's true, it's never perfect, right? Um, I was at a leadership conference, and that was kind of the theme, pursuit of excellence. And they quoted, I think it was Vince Lombardi, the great um, Green Bay,
Hmm.
multiple Super Bowl winning coach. He won several Super Bowls in the 60s. And he said something about like, and I'm just like paraphrasing, but he said basically that the pursuit of perfection, um, strive for it, because you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to hit perfection, but in that pursuit of perfection, you will reach excellence. Right. So you can Google me on that, but I'm paraphrasing him. And I'm like, yes, that's kind of how I feel. Like it will never be perfect. You'll never get to perfection. Right. But if you strive for it, you're going to get someplace where, okay, some really excellent work is done. And that's my focus, is just continuing that pursuit of excellence in everything I do. There's always opportunities to improve. There's always opportunities. One thing I tell my team, like, we're never, okay, we're good. No, we're never good. We are striving for more than good, right? We want there to be excellence. And there's going to be issues. There's going to be things that come up. There's going to be opportunities for us to improve our processes, improve the way we do things, improve the way we think about things. But I'm not going to be the kind of leader or person that's going to be like, oh, yeah, well, if that worked, it's worked in the past. Why not? No, I want to be open to the fact that, hey, wait, maybe there's a better way to do this. So I think that pursuit of excellence is what drives me. I want to win, and I want to be above and beyond. I don't want to just have a role and just, okay, I checked the box and I did a good job. Like I want them to be like, wow, like who are we going to get to replace that? Who are we going
Yeah,
to get to replace what she brought to the position, because she's special. And so those are the kind of the things that keep me going.
that's great. I love it because it's a growth mindset. You're not remaining stagnant. You're telling your team, hey, there's room for growth. There's room to keep going and improving how we do things, and improving our processes, and getting to and striving towards the excellent um that standard. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's great. I love that growth mindset. Just a question I was thinking about when you were talking there. Um, so just as far as inspiring your team, and getting them to the level of, that mindset that you're talking about, as far as continuing to wanting to grow, and to push the boundaries, and to get to that level of excellence, how do you translate that mentality to your team?
Yeah, I think it starts when you recruit. To be honest with you,
Sure. Yeah.
you have to set that, because when you're interviewing someone for a job, I mean, you're not just interviewing them. They're interviewing to see, hey, do I fit? Do I fit in this role? And so I set the stage right there. Like, this is what I expect. I expect this level of effort. I expect that you're not going to be regular degular. You're not just going to sit around and wait for things to happen. Like, you're going to make things happen. I expect that you're going to uphold the brand of our group, that when they think of our team, they think, man, that team right there. Like I had a conversation with someone, and they were like, yeah, Patricia, she runs a tight ship. I'm like, amen. Thank you for saying amen. I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Like word has gotten around that I don't play about my business. Right. And I told them that, there's some of the things that I relayed during that interview process is, and they ask questions, we open it up and they ask questions, and they say, hey, what's good look like to you? And they ask all these different questions. And I tell them, like, uh, we're not here to just fill a spot. Like, we're here to do work. Like, my leadership style is, yeah, I crack jokes. I'm a clown. I make jokes. I keep it light, but I don't play about this work. Now I'm about this action, boss, like Marshawn Lynch said. I
Let's
think
go.
he's the former running back for
Yep.
Seattle Seahawks. Like,
Hmm.
I'm about that action, boss. Like, I am laid back, but not about this work, bro. Like, we are getting after it. And so I set that example, I set that stage. And then when they do get on board, I'm reinforcing that. Like, this is not, like, hey guys, like, what happened here? This is not good enough. Like, if there's a shortfall, like, this is not good enough. This is not what we want to be about. Like, I'm continuing to reinforce that. And I have to check myself. I have to reinforce it with myself as well. I have to hold myself accountable, because I know it's hard to believe, but I'm not perfect. So, it's like I have to also kind of like check myself, hold myself accountable, do the checks and balances. But I'm constantly reinforcing, like, this year, the theme for me is getting the team to be self-sufficient. Like, I told, I was on a panel a couple months ago, and they said, okay, the question was, how are you going to support the goal of pursuing excellence? Like, how are you and your team going to do that? And I'm like, you know what? I want a team of rock stars. Like, I want to develop a team of rock stars. Like, I don't want it to be Patricia and the Pips. When Gladys went solo, where the rest of them cats go? Nobody cares, right? It's like, it was all about Gladys. No, it is not Patricia and the Pips. I want you guys to be total guitar soloists. I want you guys to be like, rock stars. For people to tell me that, oh, so-and-so on your team is awesome. That's not like something that's going to make me insecure. That's inside. I'm gonna be like, okay, yeah. And so, because it is an investment on my part, it's an investment on both our parts, right? I have to take the experience, take the knowledge that I have, spend the time, commit the time, the resources to get them to that spot, right?
Yeah.
And they have to be committed, right? To learn, right? Listen, go ahead and try it. And you're going to make mistakes. I have to be patient, right? You're going to make mistakes. I had one issue where they made a mistake, right? And they didn't, but it was okay, because it's like, every mistake, even in life, right? Every mistake, it sounds trite, but it's an opportunity to learn. It's never a failure if you use it to now be better, if you use it to change how you move going forward, right? You take away those lessons. And then oftentimes there are better lessons, stronger lessons, more powerful lessons in the failures than in the wins, right? Because you don't self-assess in a win. In a win, you're just like, yeah, I'm great, but you don't look back and say, how could I have been greater? No, you're just bask in the win. No, in the failure is when you kind of dissect, you do that self-examination and you reflect. And I don't want them to be afraid of failure. I myself cannot be afraid to let them fail. It takes a lot for me to give over the reins and say, okay, take it. Because ultimately, I want to be able to take a vacation. Okay. I want to be able to know that, okay, they got this, and you don't see when I leave. And even if I take another role, right? If I leave the company, if I leave this role and take another role, because the next role for me is vice president, okay, that's it. That this team is set up to keep that train going. That one joker don't stop the show, right? Like, and how do I get there? I gotta invest time. I gotta be intentional about setting them up to the point where they are comfortable making decisions on their own, problem solving on their own, doing the homework. And then if you run into issues, come back, let's talk about it. But I want to set them up to be independent, because ask any leader, the reason why we are leaders is because we are high performers. So the next level in that leadership progression is developing people to be like that, right? And now, how do I do that? Like, I have to be intentional. I have to spend the time. I have to commit the resources. I have to spend that that investment, make that investment on the front end, because it's going to pay dividends in the back end to get those people ready.
That's great. That's this very powerful, great insight. And one thing that really stuck to me about your leadership style is the ability or the want to bring people up as well. Because I've been in, toxic environments where, there's a lot of competitiveness between you and your coworkers. Your manager is not really wanting to bring you up or build you up and give you the confidence. So I think that's great that, you really are, you're passionate about bringing people up in your team and building them up, and hearing those stories about, if someone says, hey, you're the person in your team is really doing well, and you're getting empowerment from that, and you're getting, energy and enthusiasm from that. I think that's great. So I appreciate that, the insight that you shared there. And just kind of pivoting to the next question, as an African American woman in corporate who's doing really well and climbing the corporate ladder, I'm sure there are certain challenges that may come up. And what are some challenges that you faced, being a minority in a corporate environment where it's really not the most diverse sometimes, and how have you been able to navigate those challenging waters?
Man, I'm still navigating, man. I'm still treading water. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I think it's really easy for people to lump the African American females' experience in corporate America with all women. No, it's not. It is not the same, right? So a lot of diversity efforts have been made to pull women up to, I wouldn't say pull women up, but basically kind of lead in, right? There was that lead in campaign, like, hey, you folks who are in power, you folk, like, don't forget there are some women who the disparities between men and women are still there, right? But if you pull out African American women in that, right, the disparities are much more egregious, and it has to change, right? And I'm still navigating that. I went to a leadership conference with my company a couple months ago, and they essentially announced all these promotions, and I wasn't included. So how is that? Because I get results, millions of dollars brought in, new business, through the contributions and efforts of me and my team. I'm a high performer, as reflected in my performance reviews that are always outstanding. So I'm always asked when people can't get something done, Patricia, can you help? Right? So then explain to me how I'm sitting in a room and you're announcing several promotions. It was basically a promotion festival, and I'm not called on. I was very hurt and wounded by that. And I'm not trying to focus on the negative, because I'm going to keep it real. Like, there are real challenges for African Americans, African American women, specifically in corporate America. And I work for a company that is very diverse at the front line, at the entry level. And what we do, we're cleaning planes we're the contractors in the aviation industry. We're cleaning planes, we're pushing wheelchairs, we're dumping the yucky stuff out of toilets. Okay. We're throwing bags. We're doing at the front line level, double digits. Black women represent probably at least 30%, at least. And I'm being conservative. So why is it then when you go and you peek into the upper echelons of leadership, that's not the case? That's an issue, because you're missing a voice at the table. You're missing my voice at the table. And I sat through the conference and I was really hurt, but I didn't show my emotion outwardly. I'll be honest, I was hurt. I went to my hotel room and cried, because I've put so much into what I do for it not to be reflected in, oh, you didn't even consider me for promotion. Guess what? I got two members on my team promoted, right? I lobbied for them. I made the case for them, and they got promoted. It didn't happen up here. And so I sat there and I stewed about it a little bit, and I thought about it. What's my next move then? Well, you know what? My next move is to make them aware that this is not acceptable. I'm not going to be the silent the little lamb that just, oh, well, let me know. Let me just, no, I'm speaking up, because you know what? Someone behind me that's coming, a young Black female that's coming behind me, is going to appreciate me speaking up and saying, you know what? Not acceptable. And so I did. And I basically told them exactly all my points. How is it? And when I asked them, why didn't y'all see me? When you were running down all these promotions, why did you forget about me? You know what they said? Nothing, because they couldn't answer. They had no answer. The answer was, I'm invisible until there's some work to push to somebody, right? Until there's a problem that you need fixing that you can't fix. So I had to speak up. And so I'm still navigating this. I'm still advocating. But I would say for every African American woman, even with the tough and difficult, because they have books on this, difficult conversations. I had difficult conversations, but I kept it professional. I kept it cool. Never did they see me lose my temper. Never did they see me. But I had very hard hitting, like, hey, what about me? You got all these other people. What about me? And I gave them hard hitting evidence, and I spoke to them in a calm demeanor. I mean, at the end, they were like, wow, that was very professional. The way through this whole thing, you've been so professional. Like, what else am I supposed to be? Sorry. What did you expect? Yeah, they remarked that, wow, this was you handled it professionally. And I'm like, well, how else am I supposed to handle it? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, you want me to be hysterical? No, I'm a grown woman. You're grown people. We can have difficult conversations. And so what I would recommend for Black women is, one, they say it all the time. I've gone to these leadership seminars and I totally agree. Bring your authentic self to work. Do not, because no one can bring you. God put you here, and all the position is filled. It's you, right? Like, there's no one else that's going to bring what you bring. Your unique experience, your unique background. No one else has that voice, right? And so be your authentic self. I hear that all the time when I go to all these like leadership deals, these leadership seminars, these talks, these presentations. They say that, and I totally agree. Be your authentic self. There's no one else. The role is filled. There's no one else that's going to bring what you bring. Do not try to be like someone else, because God made you uniquely special for a reason, right? So, and speak up. That's one thing that I would not only tell Black women, but women in general, like, speak up, because these guys, they speak up, they talk, even when they're not saying anything. They speak up in the meeting, right? They say something. It gets
that's a
their
big thing.
attention.
Advocating for yourself in
Yeah,
those situations, especially in corporate, is very huge. That's a really good insight to bring as well. Yeah.
speak up. Like, even when you're just talking about a topic, like, don't sit back, because I think as women sometimes we like look for the perfect opportunity to say something perfect, right? I know, because as a woman, I kind of battle that. I want to say the perfect thing, and it's like, no, just maybe it's you just bringing up a question that gets people thinking and gets the discussion going. But speak up. Don't sit back and be quiet. I have to slap myself around on that point. Like, speak up. Don't let your voice be silenced, right? Take up space. Someone told me, they were like, take up space. Someone told me that directly. They were like, take up space. Like, I'm like, amen. Like I take up space, right? And I don't care anymore if they are offended, because that is what is buffeted women and Black women, is we're afraid to kind of like step on toes, or we're afraid to kind of shine. No, shine, be your authentic self, and speak up. right?
Powerful.
Because you need to bank on that experience. You have experience, you have the cachet, you need to bank on all those things that you have built up over the years of experience that you have, and you have something to bring. You have a perspective that's going to help solve this issue, or have them think of things a different way to move forward, to move the discussion forward to a productive end, right? So those are the things that I would recommend.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and really appreciate your thoughtful answers and all of the questions, and this really providing a lot of great insight, a lot of great information, especially for young women, especially young Black women coming into the field and coming into corporate and hoping to have some type of success. You really provided a lot of great tips, great resources and information here. So really appreciate you joining us here today. And any final thoughts or anything, any social media you want to plug, or anything else you want to talk about?
Man, I'm Generation X. I'm not on social media, but I'm on LinkedIn. And no, I would just thank you for this opportunity to share, and I hope that it does and provide inspiration to someone and along their career and personal journey. So thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. Appreciate you, Pat.